I wasn't invited to my sister's baby sprinkle. But I got the invoice, $3,100 for decor and desserts, charged to my account. When I asked, my mom said, "It was easier this way. You'd say no." An hour later, my sister posted, "Funded by someone who finally did something useful." I replied, "You just lost useful," froze the card, reported the charges, and then sent one email. I wasn't invited to my niece's birthday party, but my credit card was. The first I saw of it was a Facebook post. My sister had tagged our mother, not me, which didn't surprise me anymore. The pictures looked like a children's Pinterest board had exploded. Pastel balloon walls, golden table runners, a cake so over the top it looked like it belonged on a baking competition show. There were little personalized dessert cups with Emily's name on them, glow-in-the-dark party favors, and even a guy dressed as a unicorn handing out macarons. I scrolled past it. I didn't like the post. I didn't comment. I didn't even care at first. Then Monday rolled around and I checked my bank app before work like I always do. I saw the charge immediately, $3,1749. It stuck out because I rarely use that card and never for anything above a couple $100. The transaction read, Whimsy and Winks Events. I thought it was fraud at first. Some wedding company. I called the number listed under the charge. The woman who answered was nice. Too nice. She told me how wonderful it had been to work with the Wilson family again. And yes, the payment had already gone through. She even complimented my generosity. Said the cake display alone was a total showstopper. I hung up before I said something stupid. Then I called my mother. She picked up on the second ring. No, hello, just said if this is about the party, I was going to tell you. I didn't say anything. She said it was easier that way. You would have said no. That was it. That was her explanation. Not an apology. Not even an attempt to soften it. Just it was easier that way. An hour later, my sister texted me like she'd been waiting for my reaction. No emoji, no punctuation, just paid for by someone who finally did something useful. I stared at that message for longer than I should have. I thought about all the birthdays I'd been to as a kid, all the times I'd gone in on gifts with her, all the times I'd picked her up when her car broke down or helped cover her rent. Just until Friday. I thought about the time I loaned her $600 for a deposit and never got it back. I replied, "You just lost a useful cause." Then I froze the card, filed a dispute with my bank, and set an alert for every charge from now until the end of the year. But that wasn't all. That night, I sat down and wrote a letter. Not to my mother, not to my sister, to a lawyer. I didn't want to be dramatic. I just wanted my money back. But the more I wrote, the more I realized this wasn't about money. This was about the fact that somewhere along the line, my family stopped treating me like a person. And that was going to change. I mailed the letter on a Thursday. I knew it would hit their mailbox by Saturday. I didn't tell anyone what was coming. Not my dad. Not even my cousin Mark, who usually hears everything first. I wanted the silence to do its own work before the words landed. By Monday, I had 3 missed calls and 2 emails. One from my mom titled, "Let's Talk," and one from my sister with no subject, just an empty body and a red receipt. Like she wanted me to know she was trying without having to say anything. I didn't respond. I had nothing to say that wasn't already in the hands of my lawyer. The 4th call came from my dad. He rarely calls me unless something breaks or somebody dies. I let it go to voicemail. His message started slow, like he was feeling out what he was supposed to say. He said he heard about the mix-up with the card, that it was probably just a poor decision made under pressure, and that I shouldn't blow this up over a single party. Then he added that Emily really had a wonderful day and that everyone was so happy, and that's what matters. I listened to the whole message twice. Then I forwarded it to my lawyer. The next day, my sister showed up at my door. No text, no warning, just 3 quick knocks like she expected me to be happy to see her. I didn't answer. Through the peephole, I saw her holding a white pastry box with a gold ribbon on it. I waited. She knocked again. Then she stood there for a minute and left it on the doormat. Inside were 6 cupcakes, each one piped with a different letter. I saw a Y dash. I threw them away. The letter from my lawyer went out that same afternoon. It was formal, clear, and left no room for misinterpretation. The full amount returned in certified funds within 7 days or we file. All documentation had been logged and further unauthorized transactions would be treated as fraud. That's when the group chat woke up. My mom wrote first, "Okay, let's not escalate. We can talk this through like family." Then my sister chimed in. "This is insane. You're really doing this over a party?" I didn't answer. I removed myself from the chat. Then I got another message from my mother, this time a long one. She said they'd return the money, that it would come from the family budget, which she claimed. We've always shared. She tried to soften it, calling it a misunderstanding, a mistake made out of love. She said Emily had no idea and would be devastated if she knew what was happening. I replied with one sentence, "Half of that family budget is mine." Then I scheduled to cancel the monthly $600 I'd been sending for over 3 years. I never made a big deal about it. It was always just something I did because they said they needed it. Groceries, bills, my dad's medication, my sister's car repairs, Emily's school supplies. But apparently that wasn't enough. Apparently I needed to fund circus-grade birthday parties to earn my place. When I stopped the payments, my dad called again. This time he sounded more tired than upset. He asked if I was really going to turn away from the family over this. I didn't yell. I didn't explain. I just told him I was handling it the way anyone would if strangers had stolen from them. That's what they were now. Not strangers, but no longer family in the way they used to be. From this point on, they'd be treated accordingly. They returned the money on the 6th day. A courier dropped the envelope off just before noon like they were trying to make some statement about efficiency and good intentions. I didn't answer the door right away. I watched the guy leave it on the doormat, snap a photo, and walk off like it was just another delivery. Inside was a personal check $4.03, $17.49, and a folded sticky note. No card, no envelope, just the note stuck to the check like a bad apology. In my sister's handwriting, it said, "Let's not drag this out. It's over now." It wasn't over. I deposited the check and sent the receipt to my lawyer just in case they tried to do something clever like cancel it. Then I sat with it. Not just the money, the whole thing. The way they'd used me without even asking, the smug messages, the silence when I pushed back, the fact that none of them seemed to actually care about what they'd done, only that I'd reacted. My mom tried to smooth it over first. She sent a text inviting me to Sunday dinner. Pot roast my favorite. Peach cobbler like always. Just us, she wrote. Let's put this behind us. I didn't respond. 2 days later, she called. I picked up. She sounded soft, like she thought we could just slip back into normal. She asked if I was coming Sunday. I told her no. She asked if I was still upset. I told her I wasn't upset anymore. Just done. She got quiet. Then she said something that stuck with me. "You're not really going to cut off your family over one mistake, are you?" And I told her the truth. It wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern. You just finally put a dollar amount on it. After that, the guilt campaign kicked into full gear. My aunt messaged me a 2-paragraph essay on forgiveness. My cousin Melissa commented under a photo I posted from a work dinner saying, "Glad to see you can still enjoy yourself while the family's hurting." Another cousin who hadn't talked to me in a year suddenly texted asking how I could treat my own blood like strangers. That's when I started to really understand how this worked. They weren't sorry. They were embarrassed. They didn't want me to forgive them. They wanted me to get back in line. And I wasn't doing that anymore. The monthly money I used to send, the quiet $600 that helped float their bills, cover Emily's school supplies, pay for my dad's prescription plan. I shut it off. No announcement. No drama. I just stopped. My dad noticed first. He sent me a letter, an actual printed letter like it was the 90s, full of emotional appeals about loyalty, family, legacy, how we don't treat each other like enemies over money. He said, "I'd always been generous and it hurt to see me. Act like this. Act like this." That was the phrase that did it. As if drawing a line was a performance. As if protecting myself was some phase I'd get over. I wrote him back. I didn't yell. Didn't try to unpack it all. Just told him the truth. I'd been generous because I believed in them. Because I thought we were family. But families don't steal from each other and call it a favor. Families don't mock you when you ask for what's yours. They don't guilt you when you say you're done being the one they lean on without ever asking how much weight you can carry. They never responded. A few days later, my sister tried one more time. She sent a photo of Emily holding a thank you card, clearly dictated and written by an adult. It said, "Thank you for making my party special. I love you." Manipulation dressed up in glitter gel pen. I didn't respond. I wasn't punishing anyone. I just couldn't pretend anymore. They didn't lose a wallet. They lost a brother, a son, a supporter, because they treated me like a transaction. And I'm not coming back. The silence held for 9 days. Not a single call. Not a text. Not even one of those half-hearted emails my mom likes to send when she's hoping I'll break first. For the first time in years, I could open my phone without bracing myself for some emotional ambush disguised as checking in. It should have felt good. Maybe it did in a distant kind of way. But mostly, it felt like I'd walked out of a burning house only to realize everything I'd left behind wasn't worth saving. Then one night around 9 o'clock, I heard a knock. It wasn't frantic, just 3 slow knocks. I got up, looked through the peephole. It was my dad. He never came by without calling. He stood there awkwardly, holding a large manila folder under one arm and a beat-up spiral notebook in his other hand. I didn't want to open the door. Not because I was angry. That part was over, but because I didn't see the point. Still, I opened it. Barely. He asked if he could come in. I said no. He nodded like he'd expected that and held out the folder. "It's all yours," he said. Inside were printed copies of every bank transfer, every Venmo, every little favor I'd sent over the past 4 years. Rent top-ups, grocery money, car repairs, Emily's school supplies, emergency dental for my mom, heating repairs one winter. All of it organized by year, each sheet with handwritten notes in the margins. Some of them were things I barely remembered doing. I asked what this was. He said, "Proof that we didn't forget, that we knew." That line hit me harder than I expected. Because in all of this, that had never even occurred to me, that they'd actually kept track. But if they had, it only made what they did worse. He said, "We thought you'd move on, that you'd come around like always." And there it was. Not remorse, just the truth. They never thought I'd draw a line. They thought I'd be upset, maybe stop talking for a week, and then come back because that's what I always did, what I was supposed to do. The good son, the provider, the emotional punching bag with a wallet. I asked if he came to ask for money again. He said no. That things were going to change, that they were canceling cable, cutting out a few luxuries, that my sister was going to have to figure things out for herself now, that the family budget was officially closed and whatever was left of my contributions was going back to me. He handed me a second envelope, this one smaller, with a check inside. It wasn't much, a few hundred, a gesture. I told him flatly, "This doesn't fix anything." He nodded, said he knew that he wasn't here to fix it, just to acknowledge it. Then he said something that made me pause. "She doesn't understand why this matters so much to you. Your mother, she thinks family is supposed to forgive." I said forgiveness isn't some default setting. It's something you build back brick by brick once the damage stops. I said the damage hadn't even stopped yet. It had just paused. And I didn't believe they wouldn't try again if it suited them. He didn't argue. He just looked down at the notebook in his hand and offered it to me. Inside were notes, things I'd said over the years, requests I'd made. Mike said, "Don't ask again about the truck loan." Mike told us not to involve his card. Mike mentioned wanting boundaries. They hadn't forgotten. They had ignored. And that was somehow worse. Before he left, he asked one more question. "If Emily calls you, will you answer?" I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I said, "She's not the one who needs to make the call." He didn't say anything else. Just walked back down the hall and out of sight. And as I stood there with 2 envelopes and a spiral notebook full of things that should have mattered before they broke me, I realized something. They hadn't just crossed the line. They'd redrawn the entire map. By the time the next birthday came around, mine, I didn't hear a word from them. No texts, no cards, not even one of those lazy group messages they send with a gif of balloons and a generic happy birthday. That used to be enough for them. I didn't expect anything. That wasn't what hurt. What hit harder was realizing they were still waiting for me to circle back and pretend everything was fine. They were treating it like a Cold War. No direct attacks, just silence as strategy. My cousin Mark called out of nowhere about a week later. We hadn't spoken in over a year, and the first thing he said was, "What the hell happened between you and everyone?" I asked what he meant. He told me my sister had started telling people I'd gone bitter, that I was lawyering up over a cake, and had abandoned Emily because of money. That's when I knew the smear campaign had started. I didn't defend myself. I didn't need to. If someone was close enough to me to deserve the truth, they already knew it. If not, they could believe whatever story made them feel better about ignoring what was really going on. Then something unexpected happened. I got a letter not from my mom, not from my sister, from Emily. It was clearly written by her. Messy spelling, backward letters, drawings in the margins. Said she missed me. Asked why I didn't come to her play. Told me she still had the gift I gave her last year and that she wished. We were all happy again. It wasn't manipulative. It was just a kid trying to make sense of something she couldn't understand. I sat with that letter for hours. I didn't respond right away. I didn't want to be the adult who turned a child into a chess piece. I didn't want her to think she had to fix something that wasn't her fault. But I also wasn't going to vanish from her life just because her mom had made a mess of mine. So I wrote back. I kept it simple. I told her I missed her, too. That grown-ups sometimes make bad choices. And when they do, it takes time to make things better. I didn't mention money. I didn't mention the party. I didn't even mention her mom. I just let her know she mattered to me. Always would. And that when the time was right, we'd spend time together again. I mailed it the next morning. No return address. Then I called my lawyer again. I asked him to draft a document formally severing financial ties with both my parents and my sister. I wasn't paying anyone's rent anymore. I wasn't covering for last-minute bills. I wasn't helping out because someone cried during a phone call. I wasn't going to leave loopholes for guilt to crawl through. We drafted a short firm letter and sent it through certified mail. For copies, one for each of them. I didn't hear anything for 2 weeks. Then my sister called from a block number. I didn't answer. She left a message. "You've made your point, but you're hurting everyone now. Emily asks about you every day. Is that what you want?" I saved the voicemail and didn't respond because I knew what she was doing. I knew this game. They'd all played it for years. Twist the knife, then tell you the wound is your fault. Not anymore. They thought they were just draining a well that would always refill. But I was the well and I had finally run dry. The last time I saw them was in a grocery store parking lot. It had been about 3 months since I cut everything off. I was pushing a cart of groceries toward my car when I saw them. My mom, my dad, and Emily standing by their trunk. They didn't see me at first. I could have left without being noticed, but I didn't. I don't really know why. Maybe I wanted to see how it felt. When my mom finally looked up, her face froze. My dad looked like he might say something, but didn't. Emily waved. Pure innocent instinct. I waved back. My mom called out my name. Not loudly, just enough to make it clear she was going to come over. I shook my head. Just once, not angry, just firm. I finished loading my trunk, got in the car, and drove off. That wave from Emily sat with me for days. She didn't do any of this. She didn't lie. She didn't guilt-trip me. She didn't drain my bank account and laugh about it. She was just a kid stuck in the middle of a mess. She didn't cause. And I hated that. I hated that this would touch her at all. But it wasn't on me to keep the illusion alive anymore. A week later, my mom sent a long email. It was more polished than anything she'd written before. Probably something she'd worked on for days. She said they missed me. Said they regretted how they handled things. Said my sister was struggling. And asked if I'd consider reconnecting. Maybe over coffee, just to talk. Then she tried the final move, the one I'd been waiting for. We're family, Mike. At the end of the day, that still means something. I didn't answer. I archived the email and blocked her address. That sentence alone told me she still didn't get it. Because if family means something, you don't steal from them and justify it. You don't humiliate them and then expect gratitude. You don't build your life around their support and then treat them like the help. Family isn't a loophole. It's not a free pass. It's supposed to be trust, protection, loyalty. And once those are gone, all that's left is blood. And blood alone doesn't mean a thing if you're bleeding for people who wouldn't do the same for you. So I moved on. I changed my number, got a new bank account, a different email. I let a few mutual friends know what happened in case someone tried to twist it again. I kept the letter from Emily in a drawer. That was the only thing I held on to. Maybe one day when she's older and starts asking questions, I'll find a way to tell her the truth. Not the ugly parts, just the parts that matter. The parts she deserves to understand. As for my sister, I don't expect to ever speak to her again. She made her choice and I made mine. They think I did all this to punish them, but I didn't. I did it to protect myself. And honestly, I should have done it years ago. Update. I thought it was over. I really did. Everything was sealed off, no contact, no new drama. Just a clean break and some clarity that took me way too long turn. Life had settled into something calm, which after everything felt like a luxury. But of course, nothing ever stays clean when it comes to family. 3 months after I last saw them, I got a letter, not an email, not a text, a proper letter, and a long white envelope with real postage. It came from a private school I didn't recognize. At first, I thought it was junk mail. But the name in the corner caught my eye. St. Martial Academy for Girls, a fancy place. I Googled it before opening the envelope. Nearly 20 grand a year for elementary students. I had a bad feeling. Inside was a typed letter from the admissions office confirming a scholarship donation under my name had been accepted for a student named Emily Wilson. My name, my niece. Apparently, someone had submitted an anonymous donation and filled in my details, my full name, former mailing address, even my old work email I haven't used in over a year. It was a congratulatory notice thanking me for helping provide access to a premium educational experience. I froze. There was only one person who could have done this and thought it was clever, my sister. She knew I wouldn't give another dollar voluntarily. So, she tried to manipulate it, paint me as a benefactor, maybe hoping I'd be too embarrassed to correct it, or worse, that I'd go along with it just to keep peace. I called the school. They confirmed the donation was anonymous, but all the contact details matched what I used to use for family things. I asked if any actual funds had been transferred. They said yes. The first quarterly payment had already gone through from a joint account I used to share with my parents when I was helping with bills. It was still active and still had my name on it. I hadn't closed it because it had always just sat there and used. I assumed they'd moved everything over when I stopped sending money. I was wrong. They had used my name and, more importantly, my identity to create the illusion that I was supporting Emily's private school education. I called my lawyer that afternoon, explained everything, sent him the letter, the bank records, screenshots. He didn't even hesitate. This is identity fraud, he said. They're done. So now it's starting again. Not a court case yet, but something bigger. Something I didn't expect to be part of again. A second letter is being drafted. Not a demand this time. A warning. One more line crossed. One more mask ripped off. I had tried to walk away. I had tried to protect what was left of the bridge. But they came back with gasoline. And I'm not the one holding the match anymore. Next update coming soon.